Hey people, I'm fixing to unpack the Ark of the Covenant right here in your living room. I just discovered this. But first, I want to say, I see there's two types of people in the world. If you're alone in the garden and God wasn't watching, would you take a bite of the apple if the Crony Matatus promised you it would bring you light? So if you're not afraid of the light, then come on with me. And if you're afraid of the light, you probably need this most. So everybody's got this pitch in their head of what they think the Ark of the Covenant would be, but here in Joshua 3:11, it says, "Behold, the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, and its inner round have writ it down." Inner round have writ it down. That's an ancient word for a Torah scroll. In the round have writ it down. But that also tells me that they had flat books too, or this would have just been a written down. And so this word for the ark here, is ARUN, and it's actually, in here and have writ it down. This is the place I writ it. And in the Greek, this is the yod of, the hand of checks, the hand of checking, the hand of Chekhov et as. The hand of checking it as. Anybody with class, they use this little hand pointer when they're reading. They're in a round, have writ it down. The hand of checking it as diaetics cure you. The dietetics cure you. And so this comes from Attica. And Attica is just the ancient word. It means the land around Athens, which was named after Athena, often given the epithet. You see, a pond is how they read it, the epi, and that's what I read is the fitted, and given the fitted of palace. Goddess associated with wisdom, warfare, handicraft. And so this is probably what we would find in those writings. In the hand of checking it as diaetics, checking it as diaeticas cure you. Possessed sedges. The sedges is the papyrus to write. And it's also the sign that was on all the royal family. Die of vain they enforced in whom on to nigh ordain. Enforced in whom on to nigh not ordained. And so the hand of Chekhov checking it as the diaticas, the death, through thick has cure you. Possess the sedges, the writers, the kings and the writers possess the sedges. The dye of vain, the dye of the vain. The excessively high opinion of one's appearance. The vain, the purple, the dye of vain. The dye of vain, the purple dye they enforced in whom on to not ordain. And so the dye, like I say, the dye, the drugs, and the colors, all made from the same process. And so that would be the 13th, the worshipful company of dyers, to look over all the dyers. And they see themselves as the glory of God. In the Hebrew, that was in a round, have writ it down. The colorts overlapping come burden. And the colors overlapping come burden. So you wonder where they had to get this word ark. It ain't coming from the Hebrew or the Greek. So it comes from the Latin over here, essa, arca. And essi, in still today, it's ancient secret society of a witchcraft sex cult. And it actually just means, to hook up. And so the essi, arca fodder is what you feed your animals. The fodder is, dominant whom in is earth, is on to set it. The D and the T, watch for them to change up. Vosper, that's the wasp. And that was the secret service of the Pharaoh, the Vosper, the wasp. the wasp ordainum. So the Latin's the only ones to say that the ark is a chest or a box. And that's because when they got there, the box was empty. It's coming from I defend. They think it's locked in the box, but no, it's a fortress. It's protected with an obstacle. And it's where your word arcane comes from. And so the ark is a secret. Shut up or enclose. The hidden secret. Coming from the Latin arcanus. Secret, mysterious knowledge. By the time the Latins got there, it was just an empty box. And so they thought the ark was the box. And so back in ancient times, this light to open your eye, it was sitting up inside the pyramid. And then later on, it was removed out. And so this secret knowledge that was in the ark was leaked out. And ever since, they've been trying to hide what this information was. And you can see it in here in this Latin. In principio, in first, create it to scale. To scale from it the terram. And so, and first draw to scale from it the earth, or, earths. That's the philosopher's stone. First draw a circle, then draw a square. But over in the Septuagint, you can see whole lot easier. This bold up here, in the arch, in the secret, the potion at host on of ran on with engine. And so you see this in bold up here. This is a pseudonym of the writer. My name's N, Arch N. You write your last name first. Latin taxonomy, and that's what this is all about. And this is the arch hen. That's where your word arcane come from, the arch hen. It come from this old creation god from about 2,500 years ago. This old hen, chicken-headed god called Abraxas. Got serpent legs and chicken head and a whip and a shield. This been going on since the time of Homer. And not much is understood about it because this is the god of secrets. This is over access. The one in charge over the access. The Megas Archon, the great secret. And they try to read this in several languages. They try to read it in Egyptian, in Hebrew. They read it as a creator, father, Abba, and a Bara, a creator. They try to bust it down to a number value in the Greek to figure it out. But this is the seal of the secret holder, the seal of the editor. And he was god of Sabbath. And, that's the ancient word for your navy. It means it's bath. And back in ancient times, men would get in the bathtub and play with their boats, It's bath time. Get your boat and get in the tub. Saturn, Sabbath. He sometimes had an appearance resembling the basilisk. Legends of the basilisk, a legendary reptile reputed to be a serpent king and cause death to those who look into its eyes. The basilisk, god of Vaseline. And you can see it right here. Annie, the writer, Annie, A-N-Y. I-N means, this is the first name, on I. Any a crack is cock out. That's the word we seen for evil. I don't remember if it was the Greek or the Hebrew the other day in that last couple movies ago. To any a crack is cock out. Hit every crack. God of Vaseline. Vaseline in time. He was the cock of Phobos. And that's the one they interpret for us. They say it means fear. Do not fear Phobos, Apollo. But this is the seal of the Secret Service. They were in charge of encoding all the books. The hand of the chicken. In the hand of the chicken. In the editor. In the Hebrew, they'll say this is, and he knew his wife, I do, But they'll say the yod is the hand of. And the hand to chicken, the chicken, hand of the chicken, hand of the chicken. Divide. Key is the word for the bookkeeper, to divide the books, the secrets encoder. And so what this first word says, the Genesis, the book of Matthew tell us that means nativity, which means, a still shot of the solar system at that time. And so we expect all this to be coded in astrology. And so, I've been looking for a spot where it tells me in the Bible that I'm not supposed to tell nobody what this says. I've been looking in the wrong Bible, but that's it right here. The arcane, the secret, the potion at host on of. The potion at host on of is not the creation, but the mix. It's to mix up the substance at the host on of. And the host on of is the spirit inside of you. And it's, OTHOS, the host on of the ran on with engine. And so this one word tells me, they say this is and the earth, with engine. And it has several meanings. And if you want to cook up the potion of the host on of, the spirit of, this is talking about the tingeon. The tingeon, those are dyes made of earths to create colors. In the secret of the potion of the host on of. But when you're reading the astrology, it's still a potion. It has a mix. And so, in the secret, the arcane, the arcane, the potion at host on of run on with, WTH or WT, what engine. What engine. And so that tells me that they knew already that the earth was a circle and it was spinning around. It was what engine? The heavens. The heavens are the hour on of, the clock face on the outside, and the engine in the middle, the spinning once a day causes the 24-hour clock. And so everything they tell us about the ancient people is a lie. Gen's where your word generator come from, and begin and again. And so it's also the word for information in English. And, to begin in information. First, get the information in what you're starting. And gen, meaning, again. It's only a beginning with a B on there. But starting with a G, it's already going. It's again, around again. Not and the beginning. And this old arch hand, this word reads several different ways. It's all bold like that, and that's the way it was written. And, you see the RX in here, the drugs, the narcs, H to divide, the narcs of the potion at host on of run on with engine. And you can see, and the earth, that's the way Mama translated it, what tinge in a sin, you got a stain. But this is what it looked like when you were unpacking the Ark of the Covenant, the writings. And this was the first one to unpack to figure out how to read this. And you learned that it's all coded in the nativity. And so this is the narc, that's in raise it, in the Ramiel, the fallen angel that helped Lucifer bring the light. At the shame of what hears, at the names he hears. And so this is the level of security. It's at that level of security of the arcane, of the secret, of the potion of the host on, of ran on what engine. A degenerados, a degenerate in autos, those types. But it's, the editor, the edging is what the editor cut out. The edge in Arados, that's a speaker. A whack-a-task, who as to Zeus, the S-U-S, the Zeus goats, the pigskin. Whack-a-task, who's as to a Zeus goats. Kicking around the football upon this busy. They let us think that, abyss is an empty place, but it just means not busy. B-U-S, and the second one's a Y, and kicking around the old pig scout. upon this a busy of. And so they tell us, the A means not, not busy of. Upon who mate of the prefer it to, and we screw who we want to. Upon it of a date as. And so it's talking about the planets bouncing around and being in a different shack every night. And, I did a movie several years ago, 2 years ago, and I found it the same in Genesis in the Hebrew. It was talking about Abraxas, but it was talking about this form of Abraxas, in the book of Ramiel. And so that's just, that's the Hebrew. And the Greeks switch up for the old chicken-headed god, but it's still talking about that same serpent down the backbone, and the backbone of the Milky Way, the serpent in the sky, the river in the sky, it's the green valley, the Genesee, the pleasant valley, everything runs to the valley, the Milky Way, where all the stars are. So what they did over here with this hand of the chicken, which could read, the yod of right here, and which the key, the count keeper, the keep in at as, the dithix. And so I'm pretty sure this reading is a deck, the DHKHS, and through deck as. And so this is the word that they say means ark over here. The thick is the one they say is the box, the chest. They'll go so far to say a grave or a tomb. And so the hand of, the one that caused it, the hand of is I do. I did it, my fault. The hand of. And I do, which key in Utus. Utus is the eye of Ra with the codes in it, through the text to cure you, passes the sedges, through a veve, through veve, passes over is more like, through sway out of the way, or to sway in the way, and passes the sedges through a sway. Them forced him on to not ordain. And so just about this time, Atticus, there was a famous senator, Atticus, a student of Favorinus, known as Herodes Atticus. And he was born as Lucius the Light, the imperial magistrate, engineering and architectural consultant. And he was a criminal, he was a fallen angel, and he was exonerated by the emperor. But I don't want to get all sidetracked on that. What I want to do is read y'all this Genesis in the Greek. And I figured out how to read it good enough now that it's just about like the Hebrew. And it's all English. A couple words you might not recognize till you think about it. And they do hide a little bit of truth in the words, but they try to twist them to the far side so you can't understand it. So in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, one guy, he burns this impression in his hand and he reads it to go find the Ark of the Covenant, but he didn't have the Ark. The Ark was the secret code on the back. Arcane, the secret. And the secret was to make it, 6 kadams high. But on the back it says, but the builder was to subtract 1 kadam. And that tells me those writers didn't read the Hebrew well, because the Adam Kadam was the old Greek form of Kabbalah associated with Abraxas, the hand of Chikabudus through Tech. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.
I am the Antichrist, and I approve of this message.